Hello everybody, I am Keaton and this is Kid Catholic Season 11, Episode 12. And before we get into today's video, please click the red subscribe button down below if you have not already. Subscribing really does help this ministry, help this channel as a whole get promoted and get seen by more people. It's completely free. You don't get spammed with your email or anything like that. It just really does help this channel a lot. If you are already subscribed, then please share this channel and video with your friends and family. Make sure that they subscribe to Kid Catholic. We're trying to get to 6,000. And once again, guys, it really does help this ministry as a whole. So what I want to talk about today is something that I've realized I've never made videos focusing on. Last week I talked about the rosary, but I've never sat and focused on each of the mysteries of the rosary, right? I've never made whole videos about them, and there's so much to dive into when it comes to the mysteries that they deserve whole videos. So today I want to talk about the Sorrowful Mysteries, and then eventually on this channel, I will be getting to the glorious, luminous, and joyful mysteries as well. So, for the Sorrowful Mysteries, which are prayed on Tuesdays and Fridays, and then during the season of Lent, they are also prayed on Sundays. We have the Agony in the Garden, the Scourging at the Pillar, the Crowning with Thorns, the Carrying of the Cross, and then the Crucifixion. So we have those 5, and I want to take a sec to dive a little bit deeper into the 5 of them, because the rosary, again, as I mentioned last week, and I want to bring up again this week, is a lot more than just saying words. It is meditating upon these mysteries, meditating and reflecting upon the mysteries that we are praying. However, it's a lot more than just taking it literally and reflecting on the event itself. For example, let's take the first one, the Agony in the Garden. Okay, the Agony in the Garden, when we reflect on that, when we are praying that decade of the rosary, of course it's important to remember and to reflect on Jesus's physical agony in the garden, sweating blood, right, the stress that he must have endured. But it's also important that we kind of relate it back to our own life and how we can spiritually grow from that specific event. Does that make sense? From whatever event it is in the New Testament? Because at the end of the day, the rosary is something that helps us to spiritually grow, helps us to come closer to God, and truthfully helps our spiritual life in every single way. So much more than just saying a Hail Mary and Our Father, right? So as we were saying the Hail Mary for the first decade, reflecting on the Agony in the Garden, what I like to think about is how scared and how alone Jesus must have felt. I then like to think about my own life, how if there's been moments where I have sort of felt scared, felt alone, right? And have I come to God about it? Or have I tried to use a different outlet, right? Have I tried to use video games instead? Have I tried to use YouTube instead of bringing that attention to God? That's what I like to sort of meditate upon, and taking what Jesus did in that agony in the garden, in obeying God's will, in praying, and coming to his Father about his struggles. I like to think of that as well and sort of meditate upon that and understand, okay, I need to do that also, right? I need to come to God about my struggles. For the second one, we have the Scourging at the Pillar. And the Scourging at the Pillar is something that is really, really tough to think about. Because it's really, really harsh. We know that, right? Like the torture that Jesus underwent, the pain that he must have felt, it's something that's not even imaginable. And that, luckily for us, you and I won't have to ever endure it. However, it's still difficult. It's still difficult to think about, to even think about the scourging at the pillar. But what I like to think about with that is think about, okay, Jesus is sitting there being tortured, being beaten, being persecuted. Now, obviously, on a much lesser scale, to a significantly lesser degree, we sometimes go through, not physical, but verbal or mental, even spiritual persecutions for being Catholic. Obviously not close to the degree of the scourging at the pillar. But we go through it. Right, we go through tough times as Catholics. And so I like to think of sort of times where I've experienced even a tiny bit of persecution compared to this. Because again, the scourging at the pillar is basically uncomparable. You can't compare it to anything. It is so much more difficult than we could ever imagine. However, thinking about what Jesus did and how he did that for us, it makes our persecutions, right? Whatever we're going through seems so small. If I'm struggling with being even verbally persecuted for something, right? Even just hurt by something, not necessarily persecuted, even if it's not faith related, even just hurt by something. If I'm thinking about that, if I'm stressed about that, meditating upon the scourging at the pillar really makes you take a step back and understand, okay, what Jesus went through was so much worse, and he did it for each and every one of us. Right? And that is so, so important to remember. The next is the crowning with thorns. Now, you could take a lot from this. You could meditate upon a lot that has to do with this. The crowning of thorns itself, which of course is important to meditate upon, how that relates to our own life. What I think is important to think about is understand that as Jesus was being mocked, as he was being called, "Hail, King of the Jews," right? That's what they yelled to him. As he was being mocked, as he was being made fun of, he sat there and he took it. He could have easily stood up and fought back and argued and yelled, but he didn't. He took the mockery. Obviously, because Jesus is perfect. You and I are not perfect. We know that. However, it's still so, so important to try to imitate what Jesus does and what he did with the crowning of thorns. So whenever I'm meditating upon that mystery, when we get to that part of the rosary, I like to think of times in my life when I maybe said something when I shouldn't have, right? When I messed up when I shouldn't have, when I try to fight back, when I try to argue, when sometimes it's better to just take it and to pray for the other person. Again, it's still to a significantly less severe scale than the crowning of thorns that Jesus endured. But nevertheless, it is still important for us to try to imitate that. The fourth sorrowful mystery is the carrying of the cross. This one I really like to think about. I mean, I don't mean to put it that way. I really like to meditate upon. Obviously, it's not like pleasant thinking about what Jesus went through. You know what I mean? The carrying of the cross is something that is very, very impactful because each and every one of us, we have spiritual crosses to carry in our life. Not literal physical crosses. It's not going to be as difficult as what Jesus did, but we have spiritual crosses. And in these spiritual crosses, do we try to carry them alone? Do we try to go through it alone? Do we fake a smile? Do we say we're okay when we're not? Do we try to endure these spiritual crosses all by ourselves? Or do we come to God? Do we come to God and do we allow others to help us? After all, Simon helped Jesus, right? Simon helped Jesus and Jesus allowed him to help. So when meditating upon the mystery of the carrying of the cross, that's very, very important to think about. When we are carrying our own cross, do we try to do it by ourselves? Because if so, that might be why it's weighing so much. And then the last sorrowful mystery is the crucifixion and death of Jesus. And this one is a doozy to meditate upon, right? I mean, it's the epitome of sacrifice. It is the essence of sacrifice, of what he did for us. It is the epitome of it. What about the sacrifices that Jesus asks us to make for him in our own life? Sacrifice some time, right, to spend with him. Sacrifice the urge to sin, the urge to rage. Sacrifice an hour a weekend, right, and mass. Not just that, but so many other sacrifices that can be made not just for God, but for other people are so small in scale compared to this ultimate sacrifice, compared to the crucifixion and death of Jesus, that when meditating upon his crucifixion and death, that really starts to be made clear. The fact that what we are going through, that our sacrifices, while still difficult, while still tough, are small compared to what he did for us. And how, even if we're struggling with it, which is okay, it's okay to struggle, we can't do it alone. We need God and we need one another. And that is so important. And meditating upon the sorrowful mysteries really helps us to come to understand that, to put into perspective all that Jesus did for us. Now do you guys kind of have a better understanding of why the rosary is so much more than just saying a Hail Mary over and over again and an occasional Our Father? Of why the rosary gets overlooked so much as something that's nothing more than an object? Meditating upon these sorrowful mysteries that I've talked about today can be so spiritually impactful. And it doesn't take that long. 15, 20 minutes max. Let's give some time to pray the rosary day in and day out. And when we are meditating upon the sorrowful mysteries, when it's the day to meditate upon the sorrowful mysteries, let us remember all that Jesus did for us and how we can relate that to our own spiritual life so that we may grow spiritually and grow closer to Jesus as a whole. So now that the topic is done, do y'all know what it's time for now? It's time for
the Saint of the Week.
And today's Saint of the Week is St. Paul of the Cross. Now, St. Paul of the Cross, I've chosen for a couple of reasons. First of all, as of when this video is posted, his feast day is tomorrow. So that's pretty cool. But also because of his devotion to the Passion, which of course I talked about today when talking about the Sorrowful Mysteries. His devotion to the Passion was immense. And growing up in northern Italy, he lived in a time where a lot of people around him saw Jesus as a great moral teacher, but nothing more, not God or anything. So he spent a lot of time in solitary prayer, a lot of prayer by himself, and that's when he started to develop his great devotion to the Passion. He saw the Passion as something that exemplified Jesus's tremendous love for us, and he ended up founding the Congregation of the Passion. And again, this was in the late 17th to 18th centuries as well. And so we ended up founding that congregation who ended up spreading the news of Jesus's passion, the good news of his sacrifice that he made for us, to the communities, to those around him, and he ended up being named as someone who was in charge of it since he founded it, and he later died a peaceful death. However, he left a great impact in northern Italy, showing a tremendous number of people that Jesus was so much more than just a great moral teacher, and exemplifying to a large number of people Jesus's true love for us, that he would go out of his way to undergo the severity of the Passion. Anytime we feel like we're struggling either to focus on meditating on the sorrowful mysteries, or sometimes we feel it's too heavy, or we feel that we're getting distracted easily, or we feel that our sort of focus on the Passion isn't what it should be, we can always look to St. Paul of the Cross for help. St. Paul of the Cross, pray for us. So before y'all click off this video, as I mentioned in the beginning, please click the red subscribe button down below and the button next to it. That way you get notified when I come out with a new video. Also, guys, I love getting to go and give talks to your men's group, women's group, youth group, school, parish, whatever it might be, guys. I love getting to go out and give talks. So if you want to book me to come speak, or if you want to sort of see how I do as a speaker, go to my website, kidcatholic.com. On there are details about some of the speaking engagements that I've given in the past, and a video of a speaking of a talk that I was able to give in Kansas. And then if you want to reach out to me about speaking, please go to my website and press the contact me page, and then we can work out details from there, or email me directly at kidcatholic1@gmail.com. Either way, go to my website, kidcatholic.com. There's so many awesome things you can do on there. There's a very own Kid Catholic shop up there, so if you want the newest Kid Catholic merch, please go check that out. Also, please check out 3 of my social medias, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The link to all 3 of those will be in the description below, and please comment any saint or topic suggestions that you might have for future videos. So thank you all so much for watching. This was Keaton of Kid Catholic. I hope that you all are having a wonderful day so far, and I will see you all next week. Hi, Brielle.